Hello NFL fans, welcome to NFL Picks with Dave. Today we're going to predict how things will play out this weekend. Last Thursday, the Bengals came from behind and defeated the Jaguars with a score of 24-21. The Bengals moved to 3-1 while the Jaguars fell to 0-4 to remain winless on the year. Let's now move on to Sunday's games. Our first Sunday matchup takes us to East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Jets take on the Titans. Tennessee last week defeated the Indianapolis Colts with a score of 25-16. New York, meanwhile, lost to the Denver Broncos with a score of 26-0. This pick is super easy. Since the Titans had a much better week last week, I'm picking them with a score of 34-3. This pick is the lock of the week. Our next game is between the Bears and the Lions. Detroit last week lost to the Ravens with a score of 19-17. Chicago, meanwhile, got bulldozed by the Cleveland Browns with a score of 26-6. This pick is tough. Since the Lions had a much better performance, I'm picking them with a score of 24-14. Our next game takes us to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the Vikings will clash with the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland last week crushed the Bears, while the Vikings defeated the Seahawks with a score of 30-17 to earn their very first victory this season. This pick is also tough. Since the Vikings are looking to build on their Week 3 win, I'm picking them with a score of 27-26 in a wild shootout. Our next game is between the Cowboys and the Panthers. Carolina last week defeated the Houston Texans with a score of 24-9. While the Cowboys torched the Eagles with a score of 41-21. Since Dallas put up more points, I'm picking them with a score of 24-21. My next picks are the Chiefs over the Eagles, 31-17, the Bills over the Texans, 38-27, the Saints over the Giants, 35-21, and the Dolphins over the Colts, 17-14. Now let's move on to the later games. Our first late game takes us to Santa Clara, California, where the 49ers will meet the Seahawks in an NFC West duel. Seattle last week lost to the Vikings, while the 49ers lost to the Packers with a score of 30-28. This pick is a tough one. Since the Seahawks are having issues with their defense, I'm picking the 49ers with a score of 34-24. Our next game is between the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams in another NFC West duel. Arizona last week defeated the Jaguars with a score of 31-19, while the Rams defeated the Buccaneers with a score of 34-24. Since the Rams put up more points, I'm picking them with a score of 38-37. Our next game takes us to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where the Packers will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in a Super Bowl 45 rematch. Pittsburgh last week lost to the Bengals with a score of 24-10. Green Bay, meanwhile, defeated the 49ers in a wild Sunday night game. This pick is pretty easy. I'm picking the Packers with a score of 34-31. Our final late game takes us to Denver, Colorado, where the Broncos will battle with the Ravens. Baltimore last week defeated the Lions, while the Packers grounded the Jets. This pick is a little bit challenging. Since the Ravens seem to be a stronger team, I'm picking them with a score of 28-24. Now let's move on to the last two primetime games. Our first primetime game takes us to Foxborough, Massachusetts, where the Patriots will take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This will be Tom Brady's first return to Gillette Stadium since he left the organization in 2020. Tampa Bay last week suffered the first loss, while the Patriots lost to the Saints with a score of 28-13. This pick is pretty easy. I'm picking Tampa Bay with a score of 38-10. And now, our last pick of the week. It's the Raiders taking on division rival, the Chargers. Las Vegas last week defeated the Dolphins, while the Chargers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. This pick is a tough one. Since the Raiders are on a roll, I'm picking them with a score of 28-27. And that does it for today's episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to get the latest videos that's posted to this channel. Also, be sure to follow this channel's Facebook page if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching and hope to see you again soon.